let's talk about these things so that we can feel like we're not alone and that it isn't just everybody buying all the stuff. If you're trying to be more mindful of your planner purchases lately, like I have been, this video is meant to help you survive the FOMO you might feel, give you tips for picking what you'll actually use, and offer some of my thoughts on how I feel this planner season. But first, if you're new here, hey, my name is Lauren, and on my channel, I share tools and tips to help you on your self-care journey. At the time that I'm filming this video, we just finished having some pretty big launches in the planning space. Hobonichi being the biggest one. It was, I think, this September the 1st on Labor Day for us in the States. And then Sterling Inc. had their launch like 5 days later. I know Hemlock and Oak's 2026 planners have been in pre-order phase, I think since August. And a couple of other brands have already started releasing their things, like Day Designer and Ashley Shelley. Erin Condren should be releasing their 2026 like softbound and petite planners. Those usually come out around this time of year. Sprouted is supposed to announce their changes that they're making here next week. Moxie Life is probably going to do theirs sometime in October. That's usually the time frame when they do theirs. So a lot's going on. There's a lot of things happening in the space, and it's making us all think about 2026 and what do we want to use. And it's really only September, and we still have so much more of the year left that it feels kind of impossible to think that we'll know exactly what's going to work for us in January. I start with that because I think if we are trying to be more mindful with our purchases, that's a good place to start, is with that mindset and that reframe of, yes, everybody's launching their stuff right now, but that doesn't mean I have to buy right now. I think the longer that we pause and contemplate and really think through what we want and what we need in our planners and our journals, how we need them to function for our lives, that's going to be key to making sure that we make the right decision. And I really want to kind of touch a little bit on this idea of the perfect planner, the right planner, and making the right choice. At the end of the day, yes, some of these items are expensive. And for some of us, we want to make sure that we spend the money we've allotted to the item that we actually are going to use. But there are no perfect decisions. There are no, I should say, perfect planners. I'm thinking about something I wrote recently in an email I sent to my email list. If you used to be subscribed to my email, Lauren's List, I've recently done away with it, but I have been in the process of rebranding it. So I sent out an email the other day explaining that I want to continue to send an email. And in that email, I mentioned this thing about change and how it's not really the end of the world if we decide to change our mind later. So I think taking that, which I was obviously referencing the fact that I was changing my brand and the name of the email list and the content that was going to be on it. A lot of times I reference in those emails change being like, if we decide we want to try not drinking coffee for a little while, just to kind of see how it impacts us, to see if it's going to be something positive that we experience. We won't know until we actually make that change and we try. So I think it's important to go into a change, whether that be a planner change or a situation in life, to understand that yes, you can make a change, but you can also change your mind and go back to what was working before or what you were doing previously. Is it going to be annoying that you might have to spend more money? But there's always a lesson to be learned whenever you pivot and do something different. You'll learn what you like and what you don't like. And I think that's something that is like a cost that we kind of forget about. I know that me in this whole journey since finding the planning community and jumping around and playing in different planners and layouts and brands and different paper types, I've learned so much about what I like, what I don't, and it could be seen as wasteful to start in one planner that you thought was going to be something you were going to like, but then switch before that even is finished, especially if your life situation changes during the course of you using that planner. Our planners are meant to serve us. We're not meant to be a slave to our planner. So I kind of wanted to start there and kind of maybe hopefully that eases everybody a little bit in that, I guess, anxiety of making the wrong decision or deciding on the wrong thing. Sometimes in life we make changes and we regret those changes. We buy a new car and I don't know, a couple of months down the road, we discover a bunch of problems with it. And then we realize that if we would have did a little bit more research, then we would have known that this is something that could happen with this type of a vehicle, but it is all a learning lesson, right? You live, you learn, you sometimes make mistakes, and hopefully you learn from them. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there to start. And that's all part of like the whole, I guess, process of thinking about what it is that you are going to purchase this planner season and not. It's kind of the foundation that I want to start at. And then I want to dive a little bit into the FOMO. So I think a lot of us feel like when something becomes really popular and trendy, we think, oh, all these people are getting them. I want to get them too. Like what I see happening with the Labubus. What the heck? If you think those are cute, good for you. I do not. I will not be purchasing one. But I think when it comes to FOMO, it's like, am I wanting that thing because I see other people having it and I want what they have? Or am I wanting that thing because I actually genuinely think it's cute and I think it's something that would serve me? So we all have to make decisions with our money. None of us have an unlimited supply of funds to spend on all the things that influencers show us on the internet. So I think if we just pause and kind of ask ourselves these questions of, well, why is it that I want that? And I've seen this a lot. Well, maybe I shouldn't say a lot. I've seen a few people mention this recently, and I want to bring it up here because I think this is helpful. A lot of these brands, they lure us in because of the artwork. I think a lot of us in the planning space were naturally creative. So we admire the beauty of art and things that are created. So we feel like part of the decision making has to do with wanting to acquire the beautiful item and the art that was created. And it makes us want to like own a piece of that. And there's nothing wrong with bringing items into your life, bringing art pieces into your life that you enjoy. But in this world of purchasing and being sold to, there is an abundance of beautiful items that we can pick. And it's impossible for us to buy it all and house it all in a meaningful way. So what I've been hearing is this phrase of like, we can admire something and its beauty from afar without actually having to own that item. So I think a good example of this would be, let's use Hobonichi launch since that's the most recent thing as an example. They are always partnering with a bunch of artists. So if there are specific items that you're just like, wow, that's beautiful, you could take screenshots, print them out, stick them in a journal, and that could be a way of documenting the things that you thought were beautiful, as opposed to you actually purchasing all the different things. Especially since the quality of Hobonichi products, like their covers, I don't have any. They're made to last. So if you already own a cover, reusing the things that you already own and respecting those items as pieces of art that you've decided already that you want, instead of chasing after this next beautiful thing and neglecting and ignoring the past items that you've purchased because it's not new anymore and it's not exciting anymore. There's no rule that says that you can't use past designs for years and years to come, especially if you still find it beautiful and you still love it. So I hope that helps with a little bit of like this FOMO idea. And I'm trying to be real careful here and not judge. And I'm not trying to make this video to tell you that you can't buy all the things, because you might actually have the means to, but I think the majority of us do not have those means. And that's where the FOMO comes in. That's where it's like, oh, I wish I could have all of them and I can't possibly pick which one. So there's always going to be this nag of, I could have had that one. And I think I came to the conclusion a while ago, this idea of like FOMO is rooted, I think, in us not feeling contentment anymore for the things that we already have, because we are constantly being shown what other people have, because we're on social media and seeing the things that other people are showing us. And we have to remember that the algorithm shows us a lot of reels and posts from influencers. And it is their job to show us things that we are going to want to buy. It is their job to earn money through affiliate sales. So they have to be creative with their marketing in order to get behind a lot of eyeballs so that they can get a lot of clicks. And it's not a true, accurate representation of what the average person owns in their homes. I know it makes it seem like everybody has these things because it's popping up everywhere. It's just the way the algorithm is designed. So I think understanding that probably kind of helps a little bit in the FOMO, because then you further dissect it down and you're just kind of like, oh, well, I'm no longer necessarily missing out if I understand that not everybody is buying all the things. So then how do you go about picking the planner that you actually need for your system, the journals that you actually want to use in your lineup? Well, I think the best thing is to start with what you've already done before in the past. Look to what you've used before in like the recent past and think through what it is that you actually like about what you are using right now. Like, do you like the paper? Do you like the size? Do you like it being a book bound? Do you want it to have a coil? Do you like the flexibility of being able to add things in, which means you would need to use like a ring system or a disc bound system? Do you need your planner to travel with you? And if that's the case, is it going to be an issue if the planner is huge and heavy? If that's not going to be an issue, fine. But if the planner is going to stay home and you don't need to worry about how big it is, that's also something to think about. What pens do you like using? What pens do you enjoy writing with or that you already have? If you switch to something different, are you going to have to then invest in other types of pens? Do you want to have ghosting? Do you want to have paper that's thick and that when you turn the page, you don't see what was written on the back? Those things all come into play. And for some people who are newer to planning, you might not know exactly if those things matter or not. And that's fine. You don't start with those things. You start with looking at the layout of the planner. And you kind of think through like, what is the purpose of you using the planner? And am I going to have enough space to jot down the appointments that I have? Or do I not have a lot of appointments and I just have mostly to-do list stuff? How do you want to organize that kind of thing? Those are all things that you need to consider. If you're someone who likes to journal, or you want to start journaling and you're trying to figure out like, what's my style? What do I like? What do I don't? I personally would start with just a notebook. It doesn't matter what notebook, just start with a notebook and see what it feels like to actually write down your thoughts and then go from there. I wouldn't start with trying to journal in a planner. I say that as someone who has journaled, like long form, written out my thoughts in lined notebooks since I was like 11 years old. And it wasn't until like 2021 or 2022 that I ever played around with journaling using like a prompted journal or using a planner and like writing things down in like journaling in a planner where it's like, here's the date and I journal a little bit, the date, journal a little bit, that sort of thing. It can be, I think, daunting might be the right word, to go from never journaling to having a dated thing that then you're like, oh my gosh, you feel committed to. And it can feel annoying and you might feel like, oh, well, I'm not really getting the use out of this because unless I'm doing it every single day. So the idea that you can go from never journaling to journaling every single day in a planner, whether that be like a weekly format or a daily format, it doesn't matter. I think that's kind of the highway to failure. Maybe some people it'll work, but I don't recommend that. So if you're someone who's obviously been journaling already a while, then maybe playing around in the whole, like, let me try doing that in a different system, that might be something you're interested in doing. But I think it's important to understand the purpose of our journals, and just like it's important to understand the purpose of the planner. So if we lose sight of the fact that the journal's purpose, regardless of the way you're journaling, it should be a source of joy. It should be something that's relaxing. It should be something that helps free your mind of thoughts. It's supposed to help you process. And if whatever you choose starts to feel like a chore and work, and you don't want to go pick it up to do the journaling in the first place, that's how you know that that's something that's not working for you. Hopefully that made sense and that helped with what I was trying to say. And yeah, I guess I've kind of interjected my thoughts already about planner season, but I'm kind of feeling about my own like personal like way of how I'm handling this this time of year. I think, and I think this is because I've already done this a few times where I've been in this planning space a little while and I've already kind of tried a few things and I've already learned a lot of the things that I already talked about in here. I don't feel as anxious and overwhelmed with decisions as I would have in the past, or as I did in the past. Like the past versions of Lauren were definitely a little bit more stressed out when it came to deciding like what she was going to do. I think also part of why I feel a little bit chill is because my main system, my main planner, I have no plans in changing it. I am saying that here September 12th before a bunch of things have launched. So it's very possible that could change. I'm just saying that current Lauren is feeling very secure in her weekly planner, which is also like her main planner for her monthly. I use the monthly part to map out all my family's appointments because I started that it was like a July start planner. I actually started using it in May. So I've been doing that for several months now, and I'm fine with it. I have it. It's dated. It's going to last me through till the end of July. And even though it's supposed to only be till the end of June, they gave me like till the end of July. I felt like I needed to clarify that. And I think because that main thing is set in stone, I don't feel so like, oh my gosh, what am I going to use right now? I actually like the idea of me using a mid-year start planner. I feel like this is the first time I'm doing that. So I have kids, 4 of them, in case you don't know, and they're all school age. My oldest being like a freshman in college, which is like crazy. So having like a academic calendar situation feels like it makes sense for me because my kids are in school. But I will admit that I actually hadn't given any thought at all to 2026 stuff until like the 1st of September when I started seeing some videos about Hobonichi, and I was like, oh yeah, like what am I going to start journaling in 2026? Because I am currently journaling in a 2025 planner from Hemlock and Oak. So what am I going to do? Am I going to keep doing something in a dated format? So I still don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I actually ended up finding someone in the planning world that I follow who wasn't using a 2025 Hobonichi A6 that she is sending to me so that I can test out using that for like daily journaling for the rest of 2025. So I can kind of see if that's something that I want to do, like shift from the way I'm doing it now to doing my daily type journaling that way instead. So that's really just kind of where I'm at right now with the planners. But again, you never know. You'll have to stick around and make sure you're subscribed so that you can see what my updates are. I will definitely have an update coming out soon to show you what I'm going to be using to write out the rest of the year. And then I'll do another video once I have like my 2026 planner situation set in stone and I have the planners on hand to show you what they are. I can go ahead and do that. So that's to come. But I hope that this talk maybe helped you. Let me know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with somebody else that you think might benefit from it. I think these conversations need to happen. I think more of these chats are needed right now because we need to release the pressure on ourselves. And the only way that we can is if we hear from people who are taking the planner situation and, avoiding buying on launch day and taking their time. Like, we need to hear from those people. We need to see that those people exist and that not everybody and their mama is out there buying on launch day and then posting a unboxing video as soon as they receive it. Because let's be real, some of these people are doing it because that's what they want to do. They're trying to get as many views as they can, and they know that if they are one of the first people to launch a unboxing video, it'll get watched. So that's all I have to say. Let's continue the conversation in the chat. Let me know what you almost was going to buy and then last minute was like, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'd love to hear those. I think we all need to hear that there are those of us out there doing that. Let us know if you're reusing something you already have, if you're shopping your stash, maybe you're going to do a no buy. Let's talk about these things so that we can feel like we're not alone and that it isn't just everybody buying all the stuff.